Hey guys, welcome to the Soul on Fire Show. My name is Noelle Agape, and I'm a leading expert in health, wellness, and consciousness. Thank you so much for being here today. We have a special treat for you today. Thank you for being here on the live show, and thank you for those that are watching the replay. We are here with our guest host, Bri. She's back again. Yes, she's back. So Bri is, Bri, introduce yourself again.
Oh, well, I mean, every time I have to do my introduction. My name is Bri Gallagher. I am a holistic entrepreneur. A lot of you have been seeing that a lot of Noelle's content, her stories, everything. We've been spending a lot of time together for some projects we're doing together, and you guys will see a lot more of me in the coming weeks.
We have so much fun things for you guys, and I'm super, super excited to bring you our season. We're going to be traveling to Costa Rica. We're going to Tulum in a couple days, right? And we have such an incredible treat, and we have such a special treat. We are in Ocala, California.
Florida.
And always, I'm from California, you guys know that. And so we're in Ocala, and we're at this beautiful ranch, and Bobby Genovese is a business genius. So guys, stay tuned because we have so many good treats for you. We're going to go deep, deep into business and life and everything. Welcome, Bobby. How are you?
Well, thank you, girls, for having me. This is fantastic.
So tell us a little bit about you and your background and your journey, because your journey through the business world is so incredible. You have this, just your presence is incredible, but the power that you have and the businesses that you've established. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've been incredibly lucky, and there's a big difference between working hard and working smart. And fortunately or unfortunately, I only got to grade 9, and then I left to work with horses, which is what I knew best. Mm-hmm. And then after, at the age of 16, 17, you quickly realize that the people that have all the money are the ones that actually own the horses.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
You working in the barn, not so much. And that really drove me to become an entrepreneur and understand what it takes to make money and how to make money. And that rolled into several different smaller endeavors, from wildflowers to selling clothes, my own line of clothes, to eventually a popular soft drink, which would be it was called New York Seltzer, which would have been the Snapple of its day, and ended up in Vancouver and got introduced to the stock market. And that for me was like playing Monopoly.
Nice. So tell us about that, and tell us about the journey. You were really, really young. Your success came very, very young, right? And so how is it when you moved into such a young age and having success at that? What were the life lessons that you had to learn on that journey?
Well, I think everybody, and much like your show today, you've got to understand what your strengths are, and you have to play to your strengths. And I knew that I didn't have a formal education. I knew that I didn't have a math degree or an English degree. But the one thing that I really noticed is if I went in for a meeting, I don't know what they would have thought of the product, but when I left the meeting, I was very confident that they liked me.
I love that. I love that.
And that gave me the opportunity to go back and say, okay, if this wasn't the right product for you, what is? And I knew I could get that second meeting.
So it's really about your presence, your energy, what you can kind of bring to the table, regardless of what the product is. If they like you, they're going to want to work with you, right?
It's the same slogan all the time. You never buy a business. You buy the people.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you can keep the people motivated and happy, then it becomes a team, and you want to be on a winning team.
So that's the perfect lead into, let's talk about growing and building a team and how that was led to your success. Because all of us on the entrepreneur journey know we can't do it alone, right? I brought Bri on, and I have other practitioners underneath me. So tell me about you hiring the right people and how important it is for the success of the company to have the right team.
Well, look, I was incredibly lucky because I did partner with a friend of mine who was managing some of my money for me. And I recognized that he was amazing at detail. I'm not. I'm great at 30,000 feet. He's afraid of flying.
Yeah.
So between the two of us, we really complemented each other well. And it was complicated. But, to your question, hiring the right people, understanding, as I said earlier, what my strengths and weaknesses were. I'm not a detail guy.
Me too. Same. I'm not at all.
So by me hiring or partnering with him made my life so much easier because it allowed me the freedom to do what I'm good at. And with me doing what I was good at and him doing the details, it became a successful team.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
And how about, like we were saying, building? So that's just your one partner you worked with. And obviously you guys complemented each other in a really great way. But as you're building a team and you have to train people and really instill this sense of like longevity and people that you can really trust and that you want to be part of your team, like what can you say about that? How did you get the right people on board and keep them on board?
Look, it's never easy because people come and go. So
Yeah.
it's always a revolving wheel. And one of the slogans that I do have are the Bobbyisms, as they call it within the BG world. You have to find somebody to replace you. And that's the goal for everybody I have. If you're going to move up the chain, find somebody that's fabulous that can replace you. And then you go up to the next level.
Okay, I love that.
So let's even go even further with that. So, on the entrepreneur journey, you start out as this beautiful, you have so much enthusiasm, and then you grow through the chain, right? And eventually you're at the chairman level, right? And so that's what we want. We want to establish building through the entrepreneur journey. We want to be a solopreneur, and then we're, having our own company, and then the freedompreneur where we travel all over the world. And from that, we actually have an established company being the entrepreneur. And then we actually have global impact, which is where you're at this point, right? And so how did you get to the chairman level where you were overseeing, basically just being on the board of your companies and overseeing, making sure that everything was as good as when you did it? And how do you choose someone that can mimic you?
Well, as I said earlier, playing to your strengths and your weaknesses. I'm a strong believer in a business plan.
Great.
People come to me with ideas every day, all day. And the one thing I can tell you in 30 years of being in business, I've never seen a bad pro forma. Everybody thinks it's going to be great. It's going to be the biggest.
It's so true.
Half the numbers, I swear.
The bet. You can't lose. It's that good. You just need to give me $5 billion and I can show you.
That's great.
And what you try to teach people is, well, let's just take a step backwards.
Good.
What is the business plan? What is the demographic we're after? What is it that we're actually selling? And what's the cost to make it compared to selling it? And by the time you factor in all of the other costs, is there going to be enough margin there to be profitable or to make money? And the biggest problem with entrepreneurs is they actually think that they're doing well, but there's no bottom line. They're not making any money, but they're saying, well, look how big I'm getting.
Numbers speak for themselves.
Well, it's great if you're doing $4 million in revenue, but if you're losing $5 million, how does it make sense?
That's a perfect lead into what I wanted to ask about. In social media now, you can have 1 million followers and you could be poor as anything, right? And so how do you don't have the online presence, you're not an influencer, you're just an incredible businessman that is incredibly amazing at what you do. And so how did you build the structure and the procedure behind that?
Well, in life, a lot of it is timing. You can have the greatest idea, but at the wrong period of time, or you've got the time to do it, but you just haven't got the right product. And I think my gift, as I said, is I'm great at 30,000 feet. I can see metaphorically the pieces of the puzzle, and I can understand why those pieces need to come together. A lot of my staff, a lot of my competitors, a lot of my partners may not understand it right away, but after 30 years of being more successful than not, they're beginning to say, I get phone calls and he goes, where's the next piece of the puzzle? Yeah. So going back to that, I realized that in the stock market, it's all timing. And when when people are going one way, it's like a Warren Buffett saying, you know, when the tide comes in, all boats rise. And when the tide goes out, you see who's wearing underwear and who isn't. So
That's the quote, huh?
that's the quote, you know, and you see, you know, what's happening. And for me, I missed a lot of the .com era in the 90s. 94 to 2000 was sort of the height. It's almost like today's markets. You know, you could buy anything in the last 4 years, and it went up.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody thinks this is incredibly easy until it's not. Or go back a step further, the housing boom. Buy a house you can't lose.
Right.
Till 08, 09, and everybody lost
Exactly.
everything.
And you know that. So let's talk about that and business fads and how they come and go and how you pivot and navigate. I mean, I have learned probably even so much just this weekend. We're at his beautiful ranch in Ocala, and he has hosted us. Thank you so much for having us. But I have learned so much in this weekend, even just how to pivot. And so I would say the biggest journey for my last 10 years of being an entrepreneur was understanding my strengths through pivoting. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Well, again, it takes guts and it takes instinct. And, you know, just going back to my analogy of the .com era, 96 to 2000, if you had .com behind your name, you were going to make a fortune. I didn't get it. You know, with a grade 9 education, I need to touch it, I need to feel it, and I need to understand it. So when everybody was going to .com, I decided I'm going to pivot the other way. And we said, well, what does that mean? I said, well, I'm going to buy cash flow, because if I know I've got something that cash flows positive, no matter what happens, it's hard to lose. And everybody said, you're nuts. You don't know what you're doing, forget it. So it took me 3 years to buy the company that I wanted. And I closed on it 1999 going into 2000. Just as I closed, the .com market fell apart.
Wow.
Completely. The company.
That's intuitive, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you are so intuitive with every decision you make. And so talk about that and just knowing, the inner knowing that you were like, right before the .com bubble broke, you pulled out, right?
Well, you instinctively even know today. You've got, you know, buying a company, you're trying to buy a company at 3, 4, 5 times cash flow. If it's really got something special, you might stretch that to a 6 or a 7. So that's what you're buying, 6 or 7 times next year's cash flow. Apple stock right now is trading at 320 times next year's earnings.
Wow.
So is it overvalued? Well, if you were going to buy it, you know, you'd say that's too much money. But on the other hand, you're saying it's Apple.
Yeah.
But, you know, for me, pivoting to the internet story again, or the .com, it wasn't popular, but I ended up buying the largest cremation company in North America. I was positive people were going to continue to die. No matter what happened, I was sure. And I realized that there was also a trend that people don't want to be buried anymore. They wanted to be cremated, and there was a whole swing going that way.
Yeah.
So we bought that company. It was called the Neptune Society, and it was already the largest. And then under our stewardship, we had the company for about 12 years. We grew it probably 4 or 5 times bigger than what it was. And again, pivoting in which is a different story over a bottle of wine, but pivoting in understanding traditional sales. I mean, sales had always been done this way in the funeral industry. And I came in and said, well, why couldn't they be done that way?
I love that.
And because we did make that pivot in terms of sales, we were able to grow that company 4 or 5 times larger than it was over those 10, 12 years I had it.
So I'm hearing that you should outsource, know your strengths and know your weaknesses, and outsource your weaknesses and build somebody else's gifts that has that. And then I'm also hearing that you build cash flow and where you see value in something and where it's going to grow. And then from that point, you just feel and see and go through there. Or
well, again, you need to play to your strengths. And as an entrepreneur, you need to recognize what the strengths are in other people, because if you're going to pay them to complement what you're trying to build, you don't want to pay a plumber to be an electrician and come in and say, and everybody you hire as an entrepreneur, everybody you hire, everybody tells you they're going to do everything for you.
Yes.
Nobody ever really matches up to that bar. So you've just really got to sit back and say, okay, does this person complement what I'm doing? What am I paying them? What's the probation period to see if they really do know what they're doing and it is working? And I think that's, step 1, 2, and 3 of building your team. I
love that. And so what is the core, the structures and procedures that you can tell our audience of building a business? Like it's just a staple, and everyone that he's a business consultant around the world, guys, just so you know. And so everyone that you consult, give us like staples that has to be in place with every business for it to be successful.
Everybody within our own businesses, back to what I said earlier, a business plan. I want a roadmap. You have to hold people accountable. And if you say to your team, what are we going to, what's our 5-year plan? And then I want to know what we're going to do over the next 12 months, quarter by quarter by quarter. And as you, back to your question earlier, how do you oversee everything? I look at their pro forma numbers of what they're telling me they're going to do. I only get involved if they say, we're going to do 5 million next quarter, and they come in at 2 million. Well, at that point, I need to get involved. How did we miss by 3 million? What did we think was going to happen that didn't? Where do we need to spend money that we should have? Did we spend it the wrong way? And at that point, I get involved.
It sounds like just really staying on top of the numbers, and you just have to see if something's not working, you got to make a change.
100%.
Immediately.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers tell the story.
Yeah.
And so how do you know, obviously the numbers, but how do you know if the success behind something, because you're a visionary, I'm a visionary, right? I think we're all visionaries, and we see right before we actually feel. How do you know as a visionary what to implement within? Is it just, is there certain steps that you normally do? How many businesses do you have at this point now?
I couldn't even tell you. A lot.
Yeah.
But, you say a visionary, and we're all visionaries, I missed out on Apple in the early days. They came out with a phone with a camera. I'm thinking, why would anybody want a camera on their phone? Could I have been more wrong? You are sitting next to literally one of the biggest losers you will ever meet in your entire life. I got that so wrong, it's embarrassing.
If you had to say your biggest mistake in business,
well, that would
be one of them.
That'd be one.
But if that happened, you wouldn't be where you are now, right? So I think everything happens for a reason.
You know what? You're always. The guy standing the longest isn't necessarily the strongest. It's the guy that fell down a few times and kept getting up.
Yes, and that's what's so important.
That's the guy you want to bet on.
Most people don't realize how much failure really comes into success, right? People that fail the most are the most successful. So, you talked about that one. Were there any other really big ones that stood out?
I had a chance of 08, 09, again, the crash. I got a chance of buying several of the largest Sotheby's real estate franchises.
Wow.
And
so Apple and Sotheby's.
Again,
how did you get here?
I was just turn it off. They don't want to hear. How many losers can this guy have? Poor Bobby.
But that's the point, though, is that there's so many opportunities out there. You don't have to get every single one, but you just got to stick with it until one.
Well, exactly.
I would say you're doing just fine.
We're
doing just fine.
We're paying the bills.
Yeah.
So let's talk culture, right? How important is it to build culture within your business?
Well, I think everything needs ethics. I mean, if you can't count on the people telling you what's really happening, how are you going to manage it and how are you going to grow it? Unfortunately, we just had somebody that was writing checks for hours on employees and taking the difference.
Oh, wow.
But as we said earlier, luckily we had our checks and balances and caught it. But no matter how hard you try to instill those ethics and business culture, you are going to have bad apples and people.
So protect yourself with your business is what you're saying, right? And then I
Especially,
think that's the biggest thing I learned this year was the legals behind the business and how important it is to protect your business.
Everything. I mean, get everything in writing, make sure you understand. I never ask when I buy a business, what can go right? My first question is, what can go wrong? If I'm paying this much money to buy this company, tell me everything that can go wrong, and then let me make the decision whether, I don't see that really happening or that happen or that might happen, but I can live with that. Everybody always tells you how great it is.
So tell us the worst story of when you bought, because you buy in at businesses and then you build them up. Do you flip them once you build them, or you keep them and they're your babies? But tell us the worst story of when you bought a business and when it wasn't yours, because everyone has their own visions, right? And in our business, it's our baby, right?
Well,
and then it becomes your baby. That was one
of the lessons that I did learn early. And I won't give the name of the company because I don't want to embarrass them. But what I did realize,
it's not mine, by the way. It's not my company.
But what ends up happening is, all of your businesses, whether you want to admit it or not, if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, you'll understand what I'm saying. They're children. You love your children. You're investing all of your time in them, your money in them. You want them to succeed and grow and become something bigger and real. So, with that, I've understood that when I go to buy a business, I don't want to be an operator. I don't have time to be an operator.
So operations is huge.
It's everything. Because if you've got a guy that's been doing it for 25 years and he says, okay, I want to sell my business in wood carving. And I'm thinking, great, I'd love to buy it. He retired.
Now Bobby's got a business.
So, often my pitch would be, I want to buy 51% of the company so that you're still involved, I'm still involved. But then he says, I didn't work 25 years of my life to give somebody else control that I don't agree with, or, it's going to be a problem, but I'll sell 49%. And I've learned that lesson because when I have bought 49%, and again, these are entrepreneurs, and you can see the guy running off the end of the cliff, and you keep saying, stop, don't do that. From experience, no, I know what I'm doing. I've got 51%. And I'm making decisions, I'm going to go. And then he runs off the cliff.
And then what do you do in that case when you're 49% owner?
Then they come back and say, you were right. If I could have another 2 or 3 million, I can fix the problem. And at that point you go, you know what? It's too late. So now, I put in protective measures where I try to buy 50% of the company. And if there is a dispute with us both owning 50, something has to happen. And it usually does, and we work it out. But back to what you said earlier, have everything papered with a lawyer so you know where you stand. And the first thing you want to say to your lawyer, what can go wrong? Tell me what can go wrong. And I want to make sure we have in writing what I can do about it if it does go wrong.
Okay.
Well, that was the biggest for me, growing my company and building a staff and having just the little teeny things. I didn't know that I would be liable for, something that they did in their practice and brought it in. So what was the best success story that you've had with one of your businesses that you've?
I've had a lot. I have
You
been.
can't choose just one. There's too many good ones. That's a good problem to have.
No, I've been incredibly lucky. I made more money off things I never thought I would make a lot of money on. And, the Neptune Society, as I said earlier, I got a price from the largest funeral home company in the world to buy it. So, I gave them a ridiculous number and they came back and paid it.
Wow.
And
So what is the risk in when you do that? Like, do you go in knowing that there might be a broken pipe and you might have to walk away from it?
again, I think the associate that I told you earlier who worked with me, who was phenomenal on details, we would often joke that, I'm happy every day. I think it's going to be beautiful and it's pouring rain. The clouds will go away. He was Chicken Little. Every day, the world was going to end. Every day.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
In some of these cases, he would convince me that we should probably sell the company. And, we sold one of our largest companies that I didn't really want to sell, but, he sort of had a gun to my head and said, you have to do this. It's the right thing to do. We sold it in January of 2020. COVID hit in February.
Wow.
We were in cash. Chicken Little was right. The world ended. The company's now a fraction of what it was. And I go, so again, you've got to know when to wave the towel and say, you know what, you're right, we should probably sell. Because if I had really fought it, it would have been to my own detriment.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
and I think
Does
again,
he know?
it comes down to intuition. I mean, you didn't want to listen to him. You wanted to argue and
Of
say, look,
course.
no, I'm the positive one. It's always going to work out. But
It's
good to have that balance.
He 100% was right.
Yeah.
And it was a business that was risky to what was happening in the world. And, every once in a while, Chicken Little's right.
So does he know you call him Chicken Little on national television?
100%.
I have a question, Bobby. So we're talking about just the last year of COVID and everyone in the world is supposedly struggling and having all these problems. But how about looking for opportunity in such situations like this, right? So for people that are looking for opportunities right now, do you have any suggestions, what should people be looking at right now?
Well, two of the companies that I've purchased lately, one is called Fast Track Debt Relief, because in October, November, December of 2019, much like the Warren Buffett story, everything just keeps going up. There's a day where it's going to crash. People are going to need credit card help to get out of debt.
Right.
So I thought I'll buy 50% of this company thinking I would be right. Well, COVID hit. Everybody loses their jobs. Nobody's working. You would think that my company, Fast Track, would be going to the moon. I didn't recognize that the government's going to say, don't pay your bills. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be fine. We're going to help you out of it.
Where was Chicken Little during this?
So I know I will be right, because there will be a point where people have to start paying their mortgages again and paying their credit cards again. And
Hold on to that one. That's one that's going to make sense.
so that I know will be a home run.
So that's a great question to lead into. When do you know the pipe is broken and it is just when it's bleeding, or do you know before? Because you're so intuitive and you have so many companies. Do you know before it's happening? Do you see the future of it?
Well, as I said earlier, the answer would be yes, because everybody's going to give me their 5-year projection. I know quarter by quarter, are we winning or are we losing? And by the end of that first quarter, if they're off by $1 million or $2 million or $3 million, you can see it trending the wrong way. That's when we get involved, meaning corporate. And if we can't turn it around within the next 2-3 quarters, better to get rid of it and concentrate on our other companies that are doing better.
I love that.
Can I go next? So I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs just starting out and then maybe don't have money, they don't have capital, or they don't have access to it right now. So I know you talked a little bit about your story, how you got started with the stock market. Was that what really took off for you, that gave you the money to invest in the bigger things? Because how do people that have nothing, where do they start? So they can,
Especially now and with COVID and everything.
Well, again, it was a different era.
Yeah.
And, I'm a bit of an outliner in the way that I think.
Yeah.
So what I recognized back then was, when you looked at Microsoft, or you looked at Apple in the early days, or you looked at PayPal, or you looked at any of these companies, the one thing they all had in common, they created more millionaires than any other business. You go, well, how does that work? Well, you go to work for that company, either public or private. The private company says, we're going to pay you $5,000 a month. You're going to love what we're doing. Done. Public company says, I'll pay you $5,000 a month, but I'll give you an option to buy 100,000 shares at this price for as long as you work here. So all of a sudden you're making $60,000 a year, but the stock goes from $1 to $80. You've just made $8 million.
He needs to do this for everyone, literally. You really
so
are
when
genius with
you
it.
sit outside the box and think, okay, do I want to work over here? Or I'm making the same money, but I have the option in a public company. I think I'd rather bet on that one.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
that's sort of what I did.
Oh, that's
Okay.
fantastic.
That is amazing. But I just want to continue on that because
We have to go to commercials.
Oh, okay.
Hold
Yeah,
that. So we will be right back, guys. Today's show is sponsored by my company, Noelle Agape Global, and it is everything, all things health, wellness, and consciousness. And we take you to the highest version of yourself. Bri literally is coming on this journey with me now, and she is now a certified quantum practitioner, right? And she all of the things that we do. But Noelle Agape Global, we truly get you to the highest version of yourself. We will be right back, guys. Thanks for staying around. Thank you. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being on the Soul on Fire show. Thank you for being live, and thank you for those that are watching the replay. Bri and I are here with you in Ocala, Florida, not California, and we are at Bobby Genovese's ranch, and it is so beautiful and so incredible. He is giving us amazing tips and takeaways for you and your business as an entrepreneur. Bobby, let's talk life and culture now as being who you are and where you are in life. Let's talk about the life that you live. You are probably one of the most fun, incredibly humans that I know, right? And really, truly, you embrace every moment of your life. How do you do that while being such an incredible world-changing businessman?
Wow, that was a big lead up.
Truth, though, really.
Well, look, number one for me, the most important thing in my life, and you don't get a second chance, and that's being a great father. So every day I wake up thinking, how can I make this day great for my kids? What can I teach them? Where can I take them? And how do I spend time with them? Unfortunately, now at the age of 17 and 19, my new name is annoying.
Same. I
It
have
took
teenagers
that long
too.
for that
It's
to kick in?
seriously.
You know,
Does mine usually start around 15 or?
it's ridiculous. You know, I'll
Well,
say
I
that
think our job as parents of teenagers is to annoy the crap out of them, right?
it's unbelievable. Like, let's go for dinner. I'm sorry, Dad, I'm going for dinner with my friends.
Yeah,
Well,
or
then,
boyfriend.
Dad,
Well,
I
yeah.
said, well, no problem. I'll go with you and your friends. Dad, you're being annoying.
You're not invited.
So I take that really seriously because you don't get a second chance. This is it. You've got one shot at being a great father. Don't screw it up. And then that leads into, I do enjoy almost naively waking up happy and optimistic every day. I like getting up. I like doing things.
And do you feel like you consciously have to try to do that, or is it just natural for you? Because I think that's a big thing for a lot of people. Is
Look, there's some days where it's a little tougher to get up than other days, 100%. But for the most part, everybody goes, you can train your brain, you can psychologically prepare yourself.
Now you're talking my language.
I think, I had a very difficult childhood, and I think through that, I've just learned to stay positive. And, the three big things in my life, and it comes back to, what has helped make you successful. I honestly would hear the word no, and I would think they didn't understand the question. And it was that mindset that just kept me going.
yeah, like no was not in your.
No, what do you mean no?
Yeah.
We're going to do
Nobody
this.
tells me no.
We're going to make this happen, and that led into the story I told you earlier about understanding and coming out of that meeting well liked.
Mm-hmm.
And if they said no, then it was okay. Then what is it?
Yeah.
And let's make it happen.
Well, I think the one thing that I love so much about you is you're always in solution, right? You never really remain in the problem. You analyze the problem, you break it down, and then you move into solution. And so you even do that in your life too.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple of days that I've spent with you, I've seen that. So let's talk about your story, because I'm going to go a little deep with you because we go deep on the show, right? And so tell us about your childhood and your journey, and how you have a ninth grade education, and you are probably the biggest business guru in the United States, or at least or globally, right? Yeah, you're for sure
The most fun for
The
sure.
most fun. I can attest to that.
Richard Branson would be right there with me.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I'm with you. But you are extraordinarily successful. You are incredibly humble. You are one of the kindest souls that I know. But you had your journey getting there was not easy. Let's talk about that story and go a little deeper.
Well, amazing mother. Got married at 17, had my oldest brother at 19, my middle brother at 21, married a good-looking Italian waiter. There's a problem when you marry good-looking Italian waiter. So that marriage, unfortunately, didn't last, and she was tough. And she just didn't put up with any nonsense. So she ended that marriage in the 50s when divorce was unheard of. But she was now raising two boys on her own, and getting by on a meager salary. Ended up meeting a well-known Canadian athlete. Got married, had me. And then that was another problem. Nothing worse than an athlete who loved to smoke, loved to drink, and loved women. So that ended. So now she's raising three boys, two marriages behind her, and now we're in the 60s, struggling to put food on the table. And there were some tough times. But somehow, and we all credit our mother, as I said earlier, I have a gift at 30,000 feet to see where the puzzle works out or where it needs to go. She had an incredible gift of common sense. So both my brothers and I, growing up with basically nothing, we're all multi-millionaires in our 20s.
Wow.
That's incredible.
None of us would do a deal or buy a piece of property without calling our mother first.
Wow. Well, yay,
She-
kudos to
says
your
a lot
mother.
about her.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
She was brilliant. She just had a gift of common sense. I mean, I remember being in a boardroom with 12 lawyers, 6 on their side, 6 on my side, trying to put this deal together, and it just kept going in circles. And I excused myself to go to the washroom, and of course, I phoned my mom.
I love that.
And my mom would say, well, why would you just do it this way? So I walked back into the boardroom, and of course, guys, while I was in the washroom, I was thinking, why don't we do it this way?
I never imagined it was
Yes, really. Mom, we're giving you credit right now. So.
These guys, $500 an hour, and I'm going to tell them my mother solved the problem. So,
That's awesome.
So it was a tough childhood. We moved around a lot, and my 2 brothers eventually went to live with their father. And it was my mother and I for a few years. And then, unfortunately, I was involved in a serious car accident. So that put me in the hospital for about 4 months. So I lost a year of school.
How old were you when that happened?
8.
Oh, you were
Yeah. No, I'm very good at grade 2. I did it twice. So any grade 2 puzzles out there or math problems, that one I've got down. But then after the accident, she met her soon-to-be 3rd husband, and they decided that they were going to move out of the city and to a farm. And the farm literally was in the middle of nowhere. So there were no kids to play with. So they bought me a pony, and that pony became my life. And horses have been in my life ever since.
How many horses do you have now?
Right now, we've got about 36 or 38.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he took us for a bike ride around his grounds today, and right by the polo fields, and it's just magnificent. But you have a special relationship with horses, and so talk about that, how that pony changed your life, and how when it was your best friend and nothing else was coming through, what happened with that horse? Because horses are so intuitive.
Well, they are, and I think that again goes back to relating with people. Horses get spooked when you're spooked. They instinctively know that. You walk into a room with a group of people sense whether you're confident, you're shy, you know what you're doing, whatever. So I think through a lot of horsemanship, it's taught me a lot about people, and it was amazing. Horses, as I said earlier, when I moved to Vancouver at 17, 18, well, no, I would have been older. I would have been about 21, 22. I didn't get on a horse again for probably 13 years as I was trying to build my businesses and find my way in life. And then when I did become successful, I got invited to see a polo game in Palm Beach. Now, again, little kid from Northern Ontario, Canada. Palm Beach was like like Oz.
You were like a kid in a candy store.
Well, you get there and it was amazing. People are dressed up and the women have the gloves. It's the land of the beautiful people like you two. And all of a sudden these horses go by playing polo, and everybody claps, and I'm thinking, I can do that. And that started a 14-year semi-professional career traveling the world playing polo.
Wow.
It was amazing.
And your daughter's really, she competes, right?
My daughter competes. She's a jumper, and my son, I can't get him to sit on a horse.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, horses are my spirit animal, and you're going to take us tomorrow on a horse. And thank you so much for being on this journey. We will be right back, guys. And Bobby's going to give us some key takeaways for your business as an entrepreneur in life, how to live your best life, and truly, truly just step up and truly step into your power as an entrepreneur.
Us girls.
Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being on this Full on Fire show. My name is Noelle Agape, and I am a leading expert in health, wellness, and consciousness. And I am here with Bri Gallagher, my co-host, and she is a leading expert in holistic health. And we are here with Bobby Genovese, and he is a master in genius in business. And he has given me just so much takeaways in the last couple of days with truly understanding entrepreneurship. And Bobby, so the most important thing about entrepreneurship's key takeaways that they can just take right now and say, okay, implement this into your business, and it is 100% necessary.
Back to the business plan. Have a roadmap to tell you where you're going.
It's the third time you said that, guys. Business plan. It's clearly important.
Yeah.
You have to know where you're going. You have to know what the numbers are. You need to know whether you're making money, you're losing money, what your margins are. And then data. You've got to understand the market that you're in. What is the appetite for the product or the service that you're giving? And then put those three things together. It's a lot easier to raise money if you need outside money to come in when you do have that business plan and that data together. And always feel free to call a mentor.
Yeah, mentors are huge. Who were some of your biggest mentors? Who helped you to get where you are?
I was very lucky.
You said that so many
Well,
times.
And he's super humble. Like he's,
I think people say luck, but what they mean is like you just exude this amazing energy. You attract the right opportunities and the right people because you just have that within you, and that's what some people call luck, but I think it's energy. And
well, as I said, my older brother was very successful, so I looked up to him and followed what he did a lot of the time. I was incredibly blessed. Ted Rogers, he would own the Comcast of Canada, family company. Ted would often, sit down with me and we'd discuss, ideas and where things are going and why they would be going that way. I think you just need to reach out. Because it's always good to have opinions.
So don't be afraid to ask for help or ask for advice.
You'd be crazy not to. How many times do you think you're lost and you think you should be going left, and then you pull up GPS and it tells you you should be going right? Without those opinions, you can't make those decisions.
Well, how many times have I called you, Bob? I mean, we've been friends for over 10 years, and I always go to Bobby whenever I have a question or anything about business. I mean, when you have people like that in your life, I feel lucky to have them. And, anybody can find them, and that comes back to the connections, right? And surrounding yourself with the right people. And that's one of the most important things, I think.
So talk about connections, because I think that's really important, and how in a business, like how you have to network, how you have to connect to the right people, how you can't do it on your own, right? You can't scale to your level by doing it on your own.
Well, you can never have a big enough network, because that network is data. That data helps you direct and steer your business to the right way. And I, by nature, enjoy meeting people. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's become successful one way or another. I read a lot of autobiographies. I want to know what makes people tick, why did they turn left instead of right, what made them go forward. So I think all of those things combined can really help shape the direction that you're going in order to become successful.
I love that so much. And so probably the most important thing that you can tell everyone right now, we have about 3 more minutes. So.
Well, other than my modeling career.
Oh, we forgot to ask him about that.
That's modeling career.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, again, just to recap everything that we talked about, back for the 4th time, business plan. Have a roadmap to where you're going. Understand the product and the service that you're offering. Understand the number and find a mentor. Find people that you respect that have done well and get their opinions and see what they can offer in terms of advice in moving forward.
I love that so much, Bobby. Thank you so much for having us here at your resort. Thank you for giving. I mean, I feel like we have just had so many golden nuggets while we're here. We're picking his brain literally the entire time, and I'd be like, okay, how do I do this? And how do I scale? And so, how really quickly, how family life? Like, I know that's the most important thing for you. How do you manage being as successful as you are and having the incredible, beautiful family that you have?
I include them in everything. I have my kids make decisions with me.
Wow.
You know, although it's hard sometimes. You know, we own several properties, and you go visit the 4th, 5th, 8th property, and then you can't get them out of the car. You know, we don't need to see another property. All right, Dad, we get it. You know, we own it. I'm not getting out of the car again.
It's quite a tough life, yeah.
Just be positive, but you know, get them involved.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, you are an incredible father. You're an incredible businessman and a beautiful, beautiful soul. Thank you so much for being on here. And guys, if you have any questions, Bobby, where can they find you?
BobbyGenovese.com.
Okay. And so if they needed coaching and mentoring or consulting and things like that, do you offer that?
Always happy to help where we can.
Okay, I love that.
Great answer.
Please, great answer.
That's why we love Bobby.
Thank you so much for being here, guys, on the live, and thank you for being on the replay. Today was such an amazing day. We had such a gift. Thank you again for having us here and hosting us here in Ocala. And we are taking you on a beautiful journey. Come with Bri and I to Tulum. We're going to Tulum on Monday, and then we're going from Tulum. We're also going to go to Costa Rica. We're going to go to Sonoma. We have a huge, huge season. Bri, what's your favorite part of all of this so far?
All of the show we're doing, or being here at Bobby's Amazing?
Yeah,
all of it. I mean, just that this is the life we get to live. We're so fortunate, and we're grateful. You know, we really have to be grateful for the life that you have, and not everybody gets to have experiences like these and have great friends like Bobby and get to have their own show and just travel and live their best life and really enjoy it. So
yeah,
being grateful.
And gratitude is such a key component of my practice as well, and I'm sure yours, right? How have you implemented gratitude into your practice?
I'm just thankful every day. I mean, for a kid with grade 9, we've done okay.
You've done amazing. Yeah. And you're so humble and so incredible. And thank you. And so, guys, if you've liked this message, please like, share, and subscribe, because we want to get this message out to the world. We want to help entrepreneurs out there that are just starting out, that have no idea where even to go, or even people that are scaling to the next level. We love you so, so much, and we honor you with all that you are. You are more powerful than you ever know. Your entrepreneur journey is not an easy journey. Believe me, I know. If there were moments where I thought that I was just going to walk away from my business. Were there moments where you thought you were going to walk away from your business?
All the time.
Yeah. And stick it out. Be you, be dynamite. You are the most powerful force in this universe. We love you guys, and we cannot wait to go on this journey. Bri, any closing thoughts?
Go live life, have fun, enjoy it. That's the most important thing.
True.
And how about you, Bobby? Closing thoughts?
Who has more fun than us?
No one has more fun than us. We love you guys. Thank you for being here with us. We would not be here without you. We love you so, so much, and you are more powerful than you ever know. Go get them, guys. You got this. Love you.